Hi there. In this video, we're going to start digging into state management. So up till this point, we've been able to jump to new pages, open dialogues, and that sort of thing. But anytime we open one of these new pages, we usually can only actually return one value. Now, it could be a class and have a bunch of data associated with it, but there may be times that you want to be able to bounce information back and forth between different pages, and that's where state management comes into play. So once again, we're starting off as usual with our basic program here, just to keep the usual trend going along. We're going to call this state management. This is our state management homepage, and we're going to delete all the comments and stuff we don't need. So comments out of here, comments out of here. This code we're not going to need. Going to go here. Let's clear up these comments. In the center, we're just going to have an empty list of widgets. And our button's not going to do anything just yet, but we'll get around to that. Now, the first place we're actually going to start is the very top. So we're going to need to do something actually in our main, which we usually don't touch, in order to make sure that when we have our app modify different values at different stages, we need to be able to actually notify the other pages that are around there that things are changing. So in order to do this, we're going to need a new package. So we're going to import something called provider. Now, I don't think that this is actually here by default. It may be the case that I need to actually go and modify another file. Let me just double check that that's the case. Yes, okay, so this is going to be the first time where we have to modify a different file other than just our main, which is where we're going to go to pubspec.yaml. So in this file is where, so far we haven't really had to touch this, but in order to do what we're looking to do in this exercise, we're actually going to need to include a new dependency. And the dependency that we're going to include here is called provider. Once you enter this line of code, your things aren't updated just yet. You're going to want to click on this little light bulb, or in the terminal run pub get. When you do so, this is going to pick up all of the stuff from the provider package that we're looking for, and in this case, it's basically the interface that we're going to need in order to make changes and notify other parts of our code. So our provider is now available, so we can go over here and import package provider. There we go, provider.provider. Okay, now in my app, we are actually going to change this up a little bit. So instead of running an app, what we're actually going to do is, can I wrap this in? No, I can't. Well, maybe I can with a widget. Yeah, sure. So wrap with a widget. The widget's going to be called multi-provider, and it's going to need to have child is going to be the app, and the providers is going to be a list. And so I can highlight over here. This is basically going to be a list of any of the things that we need to actually modify and notify changes about. So the line of code that's going to go in here is that we need a change notifier provider, and we're going to need to give this a function. It's going to take a value, and it's going to yield to us a friend list business logic component, and we're going to create that in one of our other files. Dynamic doesn't. I think this probably is looking for something other than value, perhaps. No, I think actually this is fine. This should just be. Yeah, I think the reason this is probably angry is just because I haven't actually done the friend list business logic component yet. Maybe you know what? Let's comment this out for now. But later we're going to need to add this line of code in order to make sure that our app can actually send messages back and forth to places it needs to send. So for now we're just going to leave that commented out, but I will need to add it in a little bit. Now, kind of like before in our material app, we need to add a new page. So here we're going to add a new route, and the route is going to be the string add friend is going to take us to the context add friend widget with the title of add friend. So yeah, I think that's good. And this is not defined yet either. We need to actually create this class, but we are going to do that in a file called friend list. So actually, is that the right where we're going to put it? Double check my... Oh no, we're going to call it add friend. That makes a lot more sense. So over here in our library, we're going to make add friend. And here's going to build that class. I think the rest of this I can kind of leave as is for now, and we'll start by building our little friend list. And this is just going to be a class that represents a list of friends. So this is going to be a stateful widget. The reason it's a stateful widget is because we want to make sure that this list is going to update as we change the actual friends in our list. So this is going to be called an add friend widget. Also, all this is red because I forgot the first important line, which is to import material. All the errors go away. And I think what we're also going to do is we're going to import provider, which we don't need just yet, but we will later down the road, so I may as well put it in now. And in order for adding friends, for a friends list to work, I'm also going to need to actually have friends. A very sad situation if you don't have those. So what I think we might actually do is organize our directory a little bit, just so that we can distinguish between the data that we're trying to represent and the ways that we're looking at it. So we're going to set these kind of like, I think I've mentioned before the concept of the model view controller design pattern. Here we're going to do something similar. So we're going to have views, we're going to have models, and our code will control things as needed. So models, and add friend is going to belong in views, refactor as necessary. It's important you also note to refactor, because otherwise when you try to include this, if you did already, it's going to have the wrong path. And in our models here, we're going to add a Dart file called friends. Let's start working on that. So we'll keep this simple for now, and again, we're going to add stuff to it over time. But for the moment, the most important thing is we need to have a friend class, because we need to actually have some data that we want to represent. We're going to have a first name, we're going to have a last name, we're going to have an email, and there's the detail for a friend. We need a constructor. This dot last name, this dot first name, this dot email. And let's make sure we can represent it as a string. Our string is just going to be first name, last name, and then in parentheses we'll put their email. Okay, we will add a bit more to this file later, but for now I think this is fine. In our add friends, so now over here we actually can start building a list of friends that we care about. So, adding a friend to our list of friends. We're kind of going to have to, I think, build a fair amount of this before we can actually do the first compiling and running. But I'll see what the minimum is I can kind of put together to at least get this going. So in order to do what I need, I think what we're going to do is we're going to... So the plan here is to kind of set up a second page where we can create a friend. And then instead of just returning a friend, which you could do, we're also going to want to add that friend to a list, and then that list can be can include all the friends that we've created instead of just one. And any other changes we make also get reflected. So we're going to need to have some variables in here so we can create a person. We're going to need a first name. We're going to need a last name and an email. Email and last name. Okay. Inside here, we're looking for a scaffold instead of a container, so this is going to be its own little page that we can navigate to. We'll have an app bar. The title is going to be widget.title, promise, and also I need to make sure the title actually exists because it should be part of my friend widget. There we go. Why are you mad? Oh, interesting. This should just take text, I think, right? Oh, yeah, no, it should be text. That's my mistake. Sometimes it gets very confusing. What's supposed to be a string? What's supposed to be a just a text widget? It gets mixed up very easily for me. Maybe it will for you. I don't know. Let's continue on, and I think for this we're going to use a form. This is probably the easiest way so that we can submit everything at once and only one time. Oh, also our friend widget here has the wrong constructor. We should fix that too. This.title. There we go. Over here, we're gonna make a form. And why are you angry? You need a child for the form. The child is going to be a column of stuff. And the column is going to have all of the form fields that I need to fill out. Also, because I'm making a form, I need to make sure I have a form key that I can use. So we're going to do form key equals global key. I think you have to put form state here. This is the same stuff we saw before from when we were doing forms. And then this form key is going to have to go over here. Key is form key. Whoop. There we go. Okay. So continuing to build our form up. Let's start with, well, maybe we'll just put in a first name for now, and then we can get everything going after, but it should be actually pretty quick to do it. And maybe I actually can do it all at once. Sure, why not? They all look very similar. So in our column, we need children, and one of those is going to be a text form field where we can write in a name. Yep. We're going to give it some decorations so we can see what this one is for. We're going to make it an input decoration. It's going to have a label that says first name. And when you change it with a value, it's going to modify our first name variable to be the value. Okay. Let's just see what this all looks like first, and then just so we can get kind of a picture of what how everything is going on, and then we'll continue onward. It's always good to not wait too long to compile for the first time, otherwise you have no idea where things have gone wrong. So I'm going to import the add friend that I just did. I think that's good for now, so let's give it a shot. Oh, and now I need to make sure I can actually get to that page. And so the way that we're going to get to that page is using our button. So let's make sure we have that set up first, actually. Over here, this button is going to add a friend. And when you press the button, we're going to, we're actually not going to have this. We're going to call our own function called show add friends widget. We're going to define that down here. Just like we've seen before when we use a button to open a new page, you should define this as a future type. Show add friends widget, which is asynchronous. And here we're going to get our friend, which is going to wait for navigator, push named, context, and we're trying to add a friend. And if we did this correctly, this should be the same thing that we put up over here, which it is. And just to make sure this all functions correctly, we're going to print new friend, and we're going to print out the friend. Okay, so let's try this, see how it goes. Press, or is it still loading? I can't really tell. I think there might be an error. Let me see. A non-empty. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. I think it's I think it might actually have to do with what I've done up here, where I've done this multi-provider thing, but I haven't yet set all this up. So what I'm actually going to do for now is let's comment out this multi-provider thing. Space it down here. Yeah, comment this out and just leave const my app for the moment. And we'll worry about doing the switching between the pages and stuff once we actually have them functioning. For now, let's just run this, keep it simple, no errors this time it looks like. Open a new page, you can add a friend, here's the first name, you can write something in. Yeah, this is all just modifying because I type in characters. I can delete this, and I can go back if I want. The font style is still really small. I can barely see that text, so let's fix that. So we'll do style here. Text style equals text style with a font size of 30, so people can see things. We're going to modify. I think the label text we'll leave is fine, but probably here, style, just so people can see what's happening. Click, there we go, first name, my name, much better. Okay, now that I got that going for me, I want to, and I can go back and all that's okay. So let's make it so we have a couple of these, because right now we only have one, and we need a name, a first name, a last name, and an email. So I'm going to take it, copy it, and copy it again. It's going to get the last name. It's going to be the last name. This one's going to be the email. It's going to be the email. Okay. So I've got everything in my form now. Now I need to make sure that it can actually process what it needs to process. So after these, we're also going to throw in an elevated... what was the thing for raise button again? I keep forgetting what it was changed to. Yeah, elevated button. Elevated button. Space everything out a bit to make it look nicer. The child for this is going to be just the message save with our style. For when we press the button, we're going to make a new friend. So this is where I think we may need to import friend because I don't think it exists yet. Let me write the whole line of code and then it might have something for me. Yeah, let's import friends. There we go, and we need to give it a constructor, or we need to give it some values, so we're going to have the first name, last name is last name, and email is email. Okay. So when we press it, we create a new friend, and after we create a new friend, we're going to return it. So navigator dot of context dot pop new friend. Whoops, new friend. There we go. And if we did all this right, at this point, pretty much everything I think is review so far. This is something I guess you could have probably been able to create. Oh, also we should fix the this to have some hint text, such as someone at gmail.com. some more little aesthetic things. Let's make sure this all works. So I go here and do me someone@gmail.com and save. And we've made our friend, which is me, with the email. So up to this point, everything should be at least review, but we need to start from here, and then we're going to make some changes so that we can actually have a whole list of these and not have to worry about losing that information. So what we're going to do first, I believe, is I think we are going to go to our friends code. So over here we just have a single friend, and what we actually want to have as well is I was hoping this would give me a shortcut, but that's okay. We're going to make a class called Friend List Business Logic Component. And the idea with this is that we're going to represent a list of friends here, and any time that our code tries to add a new friend, it's going to modify this list so that it's going to keep being updated anytime necessary. So we're going to have business logic component with change notifier. This is a thing that we want to add on so that anytime that there is a modification, we can update the class appropriately. It's going to have a list of friends. We'll have a getter. So get friends yields friends. We'll make this a private variable. Make it a slightly better coding. Let's make a setter. So set friends given a value. Friends equals the value, in case you want to replace the list. And here, an important line that we're going to include is notify listeners. And so this basically indicates to anybody who is paying attention to this list of friends, hey, if the list has been modified, you may need to do something about that. We're also going to have a method here called add friend, which will do exactly what you think. Given a new friend, we are going to take our friends list and add our new friend. And notify all listeners. Okay, so here's our little business logic component. I don't know where the term business logic component comes from, but I'm pretty sure that the whole idea behind this is basically just to deal with the fact that you may have various parts of your code that need to care about this list of friends. So we're going to call it friend list BLOC. Okay, so we're all done with this code, and we won't need to touch this again. Going over to, I think now we're going to probably need to put together our friend list. So that's going to be a new view. So we're going to call this friend list .dart. We need to import material. We need to import provider. And we need to import friends. Models/friends. Okay, and we're going to make a stateless widget here called friend list widget. And this is going to show off the content of the data in our friend list business logic component. So here is kind of an important software quality distinction in that over here, this is the class that actually has the data and stores it in some way, and over here, this friend list widget is what's going to show the data. So there's model, which is the data itself, and view, which is the way we're going to present it. So anytime that you need to modify, for instance, how the list appears, you would change it here. But anytime you need to modify how the list actually runs, you would change friends instead. So this compartmentalization of code is something that we really value highly in terms of software quality, and is the kind of thing I'm looking for your project in terms of code design. So, okay, in here we definitely want a title still. So, final string title. we're going to have this dot title, and it's not a constant. In here, we're going to build, and before we build anything, we're actually going to get a friend, that business logic component. So we're going to make friend list business logic component. We'll call it friend list business logic component. Why not? And the way that we're going to look at this is with a command called context dot. This is the first time we're actually referencing this context, so finally it's coming into purpose. Dot watch. And if you want to type this, you can, just to indicate this is going to give us a friend list BLOC. But I don't think it's necessary to do that. Also put this in the wrong spot. This should be after the word watch. There we go. So this is the actual data itself. Now what we want to do is take that data and show it. So we're going to show that off using a list view. Dot builder. I'm going to build a view to list all of our friends. And just for aesthetics purposes, to make this look nice, we'll add some padding in. Dot all 8.0. How many items do we have in our friends list? Well, that depends on the friend list business logic component, right? So we're going to actually access that and get our friends list from there, and we're going to get the length of that. So now we know how many things there are, and in terms of actually building each of them, we're going to need a function given a context and an index. And here we're going to return, we'll represent each one inside of a container. And in the container, we'll have a bit of white space. Just all 10. And each child is going to be a text widget that has the text of the friend. So we have to access our friends list business logic component, get the list of friends, and then index inside of there the friend for each one that we're building. All right, so now we have a list of friends. We probably want to be able to see it. So for this, we're going to need to probably make that our body, actually. So in our main, right now our body is just nothing, but we're actually going to replace all of this with a friend list widget. The capital F, and this comes from here. Why are you mad? Oh, constructor. There you go. And I guess I don't think we actually used the title, did we? So we probably could actually just cut that out. Yeah, if you don't need a title, why put the title in, right? Waste of code. Okay, so now our body is going to be the list of friends. And I think the last thing we have to change is our add friend code. So right now, when we add a new friend, all that happens is it gets popped off and printed. But we want to actually let our friends list know, hey, there's a new person, and we want to add that person. So, whoa, that's some angry stuff. This is all probably because at this point my main actually needs to include the code I had here from before, and I can actually just delete this and comment out what I put. So let's return all this to where it should be. I think this should all run at least, so let's double check that. No, still an error. What am I missing? Children is not empty. Yes, this also should be commented back as it should be. And then you are mad because I have to specify the type, I think, here. Oh, wait, no, maybe I just need to import the model. That definitely would help. Oh, there we go. Just import the model. Go again. Stack Overflow, well, that's not reassuring. Where are we looking here? Get friends returns friends. Perhaps I did this incorrectly. Oh yes, this is a little loop here, right? When someone tries to get friends, it just builds an infinite loop. That's kind of unfortunate. Let's make sure we're actually getting the private list of friends, not the request, where you spin in a circle for a while. Let's try that again. Okay, there we go. Our friends list is empty right now, and if we go here and make a friend, nothing will actually change. So effectively, nothing works yet because we have one last very important line of code to do, and that is going to be inside of our add friend code, where we pop off the new friend so we can print it. What we're actually going to do here is add one more line right before we pop, which is going to our friend, or here we actually need to have our business logic component thing, because that's not yet available to us. And so in here, we need to go get it. So we want a friend list business logic component, call it that. Now, if we make a new one, that's going to be independent from the other one that's over there. So what I need to actually do is I need to pull a reference to the same list that's being shown on the main page. To do that, I need provider dot of, and this is going to take context. And importantly, this is going to give me a friend list business logic component. So I'm effectively here looking for the same list that is going to show up on my home page, so that later down the line here, when I add in this new line of code, which is going to be take that and add a friend, which is our new friend, this friend list is the same one on the home page. And this is kind of like the key idea behind all of what we're doing here, is being able to connect those. So let's build this, and I think that this might be it. So right now our list is empty, so nothing should show up. Let's try making a person. So let's make me. Someone at gmail.com. And save. And hey, look at that. It's kind of small. Let's make it a little bigger. In our friend list widget here, we got text, and our text is tiny. So let's enlarge. Style is text style with a font size of 30. We can tell we're getting past the length of how long the code should be. So let's fix that. Try it again. Okay, cleared my name. Type in it again. Hey, look at that. Let's add another friend. Make sure it works. Friend 2. Fair last name. I have much creative abilities here. Friend2 at gmail.com. Save. And hey, look at that. We actually are building up a list of friends, all constructed from our other page. And this is all super, super important. Anytime that you need to modify data from one page and have it reflected in another, this is really where the key ideas behind state management become super important. So there's a number of functions that we built here, and ultimately this all fell under a single design pattern you may want to look up called Model View Controller. And really the important ideas here is that link between the model, which is our list of friends, this is all of our data, and our and the way that we actually present it, which is with this list of things. So there's kind of a couple of key methods here that are referencing each other. So for instance, where we have context.watch here, this is effectively saying, hey, anytime that a change is made to this friend list, it needs to be reflected when we show it off. And similarly over in our model here, we have some methods called notify listeners, and these are all super important because otherwise the friend list is not going to know a change has happened when, for instance, you replace the list of friends or you add a new friend. And you need to notify the model itself that your code has suggested to make a change somehow. So I guess technically I guess add friend's not really a view. I guess you could argue maybe this is actually the controller, so maybe we'll restructure it that way. Directory controller, and we'll move add friend over to that. Yeah, refactor everything so none of the dependencies are lost. So now we have like all three kind of components here. The model is the friends that are there, the view is the list that shows up on the screen, and the controller is the thing that actually is going to modify the list itself. And in this case, the only modification we're doing is a very simple one, which is just adding somebody. You probably will want your controller to do other things. Maybe you want to, if you want to do another exercise, maybe you actually just take this code and add in a button on the app bar that lets you remove a person. How would you do that? There definitely is, it shouldn't be too hard, I think, with the stuff that I've covered today to actually get that working. But it might be a good exercise if you want to make sure that you're very comfortable working with logic components, working with providers, with this like weird little bit of code I needed to add at the beginning that specifically is going to make sure that the friend list is updated as it needs to be. All of these things are necessary if you want to have state management in your code, and I think you have to. I'm pretty sure it's part of the the course description, course project description. So that's everything for today. Thanks for watching as always, and I will see you in the next video.